YeahThisMilk starring.
This is Queen Sheba. What up, though? They say to understand a man, you should walk a mile in his shoes. Yesterday I came home early to be alone. Slipped on his leather sandals and wrapped my head with his work shirt to make a turban, wanted to see if his energy would sink in. By osmosis, I learned the fears he's too macho to tell me and the pleasures that make him happy. Open windows, I dance naked like this for hours, working up a sweet mist covering my body, letting the fragrance of my flower attach to the moisture in the air, making him think of me when he's alone, touch himself and fantasize about my rhythm. The ancestral tribal dances I perform over him. Securing my position, he clasps the fleshy round of my bottom. Each connection, a promise to liberate our people, a promise to liberate our country, a promise to liberate ourselves, nation building. Leaning forward, I tickled his ear with my promise to raise a generation for him, raise them between my thighs and on my nipples, give our children names of the ghetto, untranslatable in other languages, to hide them from the officials that will look for us. Our love is the energy they will try to instill to harvest entire third world countries. He mumbles in his sleep plans of marrying me, while conscious he denies it. Insecure about his position in my life, it took me 9 seasons to convince him that nothing that came before us mattered. One was abusive and the others were fools, and no one will be half the man he'll teach our son to be. I listen to Lettucey while making scrapbooks out of potato paper. He listens to Ludacris while playing PlayStation. I am freedom now. He is freedom by design. I am reparations now. He is financial planning. While I sew at night, he orders from Black entrepreneurs. Calluses on my fingers grow sore from traditional writing. Took me 5 months. He called it stalking. I call this strategy. Monthly, he rubs my belly, encourages me to indulge in my cravings. I tell him my blood sheds for the workers that were killed for fair trade chocolate smuggling. Heavy days can never replace the blood spilled in the Coca-Cola plant where union workers were killed just for wanting stability for their families. Each cramp, the aftershock for 55-year-old Roy Veal, whose body hung for Mississippi sun to rot. Sing, Billy. Tell us what them old trees will do. What strange fruit was caught in this new? Sing, Billy. But better ask Puffy for a remix, Lil Jon for a beat, and Kanye for a guest appearance. Otherwise, ain't nobody gonna be listening. I live in the South, where hospitality comes naturally. All that means is I'll fry your fish before cleaning my gun for tonight's peace rally. He promised to teach me how to shoot it. I promised to pretend I didn't already know. I trace the lifelines in his hands and ask him not to rub my pain away. Let me be reminded of what I carry in my womb. Water shifted by 3 moons. Each new tide shifts my mood. It's 4:30. He'll be home shortly. I dim the room, run a bath, and light candles for aromatherapy. Slipping between the secrets of the bubbles, tempted to please myself, I decide to wait patiently. The soft of my fingertips could never compare to the perfect placement of his tongue, tracing out the letters of our daughter's name. The 10 gods I call on when I try to refrain. Soulmates. We are the same warrior. We just don't walk the same. I don't know if I'll need bigger shoes or he'll need smaller feet, as long as we march for freedom simultaneously.
God damn, that shit hard. I'm sorry. I'll never ask this question off top. How long do it take you to commit to memory? Because my stuff is real detailed and long. I really leave them shits in my books. I don't take on that process. How long do it take you to remember that particular piece?
If I dedicate a day to her, like today I'm going to memorize this poem, it takes me an hour per typed page. But every time I mess up, and this is something I learned from my dad because he used to make speeches. He worked for the Veterans Association. He used to travel the country making speeches, spoken word, making speeches. Isn't that weird? Isn't that crazy? Who knew? But so every time I mess up, I make myself do push-ups or something. I tape it on the wall and I stand up to practice it, because how you practice is how you perform. Same for sports, right? How you practice is how you perform. So excuse me. Just got finished working out. So I tape it to the wall, and then I, block it off by maybe 4 to 8 lines each. And then I memorize that, add it on to the next block, go back, start over. And it usually takes me about an hour per page. And usually my poems are about 3 to 4 pages. So about 4 hours to get it in my brain. But then I use the song test and the vacuum test.
What's the song test and a vacuum test? Explain.
Song test, vacuum test, and inside, not outside test. Inside your head, not outside. So the song test is you should be able to play your favorite song like loud, blasting on the speakers, and you should still be able to say it out loud. That's one way you know you have it committed to memory. Another way to know that you're using your diaphragm and not your throat is to turn on a vacuum and be able to perform it over the vacuum and have people in close proximity be able to hear you. Not like your neighbors across the street, but just, so that you're not like, just using your throat, because pre-COVID, all of us were performing 2, 3, 4 times a week, even if it was just open mics to be practicing, and then would have shows on the weekend. So you don't want to blow out your throat. So it's almost like singing, and people don't respect spoken word like singing or like hip hop, but you still have to use your diaphragm. So you're not like, like this on the car, especially if you drive to places more than you fly, because then you got air conditioning and the heat, blasting on your throat all the time. And those are things that I learned early on. And then when you know you have it absolutely committed to memory is when you can say it in your head without saying it out loud, without messing up. That is when you know you have it mastered completely. Now, you will mess up. Your brain will edit shit out for you. Because, initially we write our poems, we're like, oh, we need to say everything we're feeling. And then once you start to practice, you'll realize some shit gets lost. And you'll be like, fuck it, I didn't need it. And then once you get comfortable with whatever that is, then once you get in your mind will also start to delete things too. One of my signature poems, We Are the Women, if I was to read you what I wrote from beginning to end, that shit is about cut off by like 2 minutes. Like, that shit is hella long still on paper, but now it's probably like 3 minutes and some change, or 2:45.
The way what you said for us, a punishment, I heard that before. B-Rock said he'll punish himself. But the way you broke down the vacuum part and the song, I'd never heard nobody. That's why it's good to also access, because it can help somebody who's up and coming. And
I've learned those from other people too. It's not like they didn't just fall, I just came up with this vacuum test. You know what I mean? Right. It's other spoken word artists who've come before me and said, try this and do this. And also when I found myself hopping to 5, 6, 7, 8 open mics a week, and especially when I lived in Norfolk and I was driving to Baltimore, driving to Delaware, driving to New York, Philly, like you just had to have that shit down before you got there. And living in Atlanta, unfortunately, people get caught in a repetition of doing the same poems over and over again.
I'm not doing that.
So when I got here, I refused to do that, and I used to go through like every fucking thing. And then I think, I definitely will influence people to, branch that out. And it's cool if you have some poems that you like your hits, but do what you feel like doing. Bring the audience to you not to them.
Right. I was talking to the Academy like 2 days ago. I was interviewing him. I said to him, I've been saying stuff out of my mouth this 5, 6, 7 years old, but I surpassed that level 3 years ago, and I'm surpassing that 3-year level now, but I haven't took the time to commit to something more, because you're getting features and you don't host the show. I said, I gotta, and also you can rely on being comfortable with the stuff that's good. But what about challenging yourself and forcing yourself to level up and saying, I think this good, but you don't know what you really know is good until you say it in front of the audience.
Well, that's a great segue. That's one of several reasons why I started doing the workshops in my house. One, the main reason I started to do the workshop in this living room is because I wasn't writing enough new stuff, even if it never got out. You know what I mean? Because you have to write through trash to get through treasure. So
hold on, say that again.
You have to write through trash to get to treasure.
Get them.
You have to write through. I mean, everything you write is not going to be good. It's not going to. You're not going to want to. It's like, I don't know. It's like you write the stuff down. And you're like, you know what I mean. You might try it out, and sometimes you might write something that you don't realize is gonna be good for the stage, and you say it a couple times, and you get response and feedback, and you're like, oh shit, okay, maybe this wasn't as bad as I thought, or whatever. And sometimes we put the expectation on ourselves to have this amazing poem every single fucking time, and it's just like, write what you feel, write what you want, write through it, and then get to the things that you like. So we've been doing writing workshop on Tuesdays. We just switched to Mondays for 2.5 years, and every Tuesday. And then even during COVID, I had one of Mike P. He's a hip hop artist and a poet. He actually took over the online version this past summer while I was busy getting my mental health together. And then we just started back in my living room 2 weeks ago. So, so we haven't missed a beat.
How long are they?
The workshops?
Yes.
We open the doors at 8. We lock the doors at 8:30, so there's no disruption or interruption. And then we're out of here at 11. So it's not long at all. Now, what I will say, before COVID, we were at Gallery 992 because I outgrew the living room. So we had 15 people here consistently for about 6 months. I was like, oh, it's time to go. So we went to Gallery 992. We started to have 20 to 30 people consistently every week, if not more than that. We have Taco Tuesday every 6 weeks. And so we'd get about 30 to 40 people there to share, whatever. And then we came up with a couple projects. We did a music video together. We're working on an anthology. So we're doing stuff. We're not just writing, but we're also very honest about our feedback. We'll tell you things that we like, but we also challenge you on things like, that was a little weak, or you could use more description, or you could have did this, or you could have did that. So it's great. So that's one reason I started, so that I could write more. Another reason I started is so that I could get honest feedback and give honest feedback, because I don't know of, and there could be, so if there are, then please forgive me. I don't know of another skills lab for poets in Atlanta that's consistent. I know people do workshops. I'm not saying that, but where is somebody saying, no, that's some bullshit? Take that out. What does that mean?
Apache, we used to have them do
Oh my God. How long have you been around, Mel?
I've always been in the crevices.
Like,
sitting back.
Wait, what? Wasn't that during? That was during rough language, though. That was during a competition. That's a little different. I never allowed that on the open mic, but during the poetry slam, it was like, get the fuck out of here with the bullshit.
But you're right. You don't have nobody to tell you if it's good or not.
Because, my mentors, ironically, used to run through Baltimore, were from Newark, and Newark wasn't playing that shit. Talam Acey and Lamar Hill were my initial mentors into the scene, and then I met, people as I went along, and through, edification, but, yeah, they used to be like, nah, that's whack. I mean, and like straight to your face. And people need it. And I mean, remember that song that Jay-Z put out when Blue Ivy was born? That shit was horrible.
Which one? Was it King to Come?
I don't remember the name of it. I just remember that when Blue Ivy was born, how old is she now? 5? It was like the day after she was born, and she was still in the hospital or some shit. He was like, I just remember it was so bad. I just remember listening to the radio, like, he left the hospital, went to wherever he records shit at.
Just happy.
And then however he gets shit on the radio,
right.
It was on the radio within like hours. And I was like, nah, somebody needed to be in the studio like, you're amazing, you are. This is some bullshit.
But let me say this to you. I also feel like you got to be a person that can take that. Because the thing, everybody telling you the shit in your mind, you don't want to hear nobody got to say. Well, certain people like that.
You should never be the smartest person in the room.
Yeah.
Tommy Bottoms has that poem about him always being the smartest person in the room. But, I think that's a great poem. But I think that he and people that are smart and that are intelligent and do good business always have someone smarter around them to give them advice and to challenge them, be like, oh, that's a cool idea, but what about this? And that's what building a team was about before social media.
Yeah. Can I say something what you just said? Yeah. That's the part I'm talking about. Most people don't like being challenged.
Oh, yeah.
And if you don't like being challenged, like me, I have people around me, I'll like...
Well, there's a difference between disrespect and challenge. You're not just going to tell somebody, fuck, that shit is stupid. Now, in our workshop, we have a structured way to give feedback.
Okay.
So when we like something, one, you have to be specific. You can't say that's good, that's dope, that's deep. You can't say those things. You're like, because then we challenge you. What does deep mean? What does good mean? What do you mean? What is good? What struck you? What do you see with your mind's eye? You know what I mean? I don't even mean to be cliche, but like when you're listening to a poem, you can see the movie picture. If you can't see the movie picture,
it's not good.
Then you need to say that as well. Yeah. So then if you don't like something, then we pose it as a question. Have you considered changing red to blue? Would you consider changing it from a falcon to a hawk? What do you think about making the grass purple instead of green? So that way the reader has something to consider. Mm-hmm. They don't ever have to change it because it's posed as a question. Mm-hmm. Not like, you should change that to red because such a... No. It's not your poem. So just pose it as a question. What would you consider about changing red to green? Because this is what I was thinking when I was listening to it. And they can either do it or not do it. And also the reader doesn't get to respond. So you don't get to...
Oh, for real?
No, you don't get to respond.
Oh, okay.
So you can make notes. You can make notes. You can kind of nod your head, but you can't explain. Because if everybody explained everything that they were challenged...
4 hours long. Instead of
Because
you love your work and you want to debate.
If the grass was green, because that's what my grandmama's house was, but it's just like no. Yeah.
Me myself, I have two.
Both
people.
Of you.
Me myself.
Yeah.
Me and I.
Yeah. Okay.
I have somebody that I have two people that I talk to, and I basically, if I'm like, let me read this. If they say, I see where you going, I know that shit ain't it. Or if they say, oh, okay, yeah, man, yeah. I already know. So I got two people that I trust. Yeah. So if they, but also the other thing is, to me, I don't know how you feel. I know when something ain't good when I'm on stage. If I spit something and I don't feel like, and I'm looking out there, you looking at me, I don't care how much motherfuckers clap. You can look in the eyes and tell, this ain't the one.
Well,
this ain't the one for this night.
So I used to, also given the variables, different night, different day, different time, wind change, season, happy, sad, what's going on, right? So I used to do the same poem in completely different venues all week just to see, like, okay, how's this hit at Java Monkey? How's this hit at Urban Grind? How's this hit at Cat's Cafe? How's this hit at Apache? How's this fit at the Underground? How does this hit at Georgia Tech or Georgia State or the college night at Spelman? So, just to see where it fits in different age, demographic, races, and then take all that into consideration. But again, I still believe in doing what you feel and bringing the audience to you and not you to them. Most
definitely. What you just said just now, that's the part that I was trying to get to when we was talking about earlier about doing the same poem. I will not allow the audience to entrap me by the shit they like.
Yeah.
I'm not letting y'all do that to me.
Yeah. There's a fine line between that and reading the room, though. You know what I mean? There's a fine line, like doing what you feel, but if everybody's laughing, joking, ha, you don't necessarily want to come with a rape poem. You know what I mean? I mean, if it's a slam, maybe, because then there's the strategy of changing the mood, right? But if it's an open mic and everybody's just kicking it and laughing and joking and stuff, maybe you don't have something funny, but maybe you at least want to do something high energy. Like there's a fine line between y'all niggas ain't gonna run me to reading the room. Like it's a little both.
Can I say that this how I have 3 ways I do it. 1, I ask what y'all want to hear. 2, I read the room. 3,
asking.
And here go the third one. The third one, I read the room, do what I want, or ask what people want. Those are 3 I do.
When I hear it annoys. This is just me. It annoys me when people get on stage and say, "What do you want to hear?"
I give options though. I don't just be vague.
They don't know that you're fucking poems.
I say you want to hear some grimy, you want to hear some conscious. Like I say something like that, but not more.
Why grimy ain't conscious? And that's another thing when people give those subjects. Then I'm like, why grimy ain't conscious and why conscious ain't grimy? Like a revolutionary as fuck. You know what I mean? So what the fuck is the difference? You know what I mean? So so that always, I like to use the word interest. It always interests me when I hear that, because I'm always like, we don't know your poems like hit songs to be able to say, oh, I mean, maybe some people do, but
don't know your shit.
Yeah, maybe, but more often than not, I'll get off stage and people are like, oh, I was hoping you'd do such, and I always tell them, well, if you're ever in an open mic or a feature, yell that shit out, because it helps the poet be like, oh, well, let me do this. But it interests me when people get up there and be like, what do you want to hear? And in my mind, I'm like, you've been sitting here for 2 fucking hours. You should have been able to read the room. You should know what the fuck you're going to do. Even if you have 2 in your mind, you could just be like, boom, just go with, go with it. So I'm not saying to change you.
No. I understand. You saying that's how you see it.
That's how I
understand. Most definitely.
Yeah, whenever people are like, what y'all want to hear? I'm like, motherfucker, you've been sitting there 3 goddamn hours. You should know what the fuck they want to hear. Like, or change the mood, like, but just own it.
Most definitely. Most definitely. I understand what you said.
Yeah.
What you want to hear, though?
I'm like, oh my God. It's so funny.
Let's rewind back, because we hop to my 3rd page questions.
Okay.
All right? Okay. Let's go all the way back. You said your father was he wrote speeches. He basically wrote and said speeches.
I don't think he ever wrote them. I think he
freestyle
always was off the top of the dome. He worked for the Veterans Association, and he used to go around the country talking to veterans about what I don't fucking know. Right. But he never wrote his speeches. He did think about them. He, the night before, he'd be like, "Oh, I'm going to." I grew up in Detroit. He'd be like, "Oh, I'm going to Ohio. I'm going to Lansing. I'm going to wherever. I got to give this speech tomorrow to these." I don't know what the fuck. Yeah, I never saw him do it, but I just know he did it.
Do you know if he had video footage of it?
I don't think so.
What's your father name?
Michael.
Your father named Michael Z, because he was doing shit in his head. Before Jay-Z.
Mike Z, you know what I'm saying?
For real, man. So you say you grew up in Detroit.
Yes.
Can you break down how it was growing up in Detroit? Make us feel like we was with you growing up.
So this is my trajectory. Okay. So this is Michigan. Which way do y'all? All right. So this is Michigan my way. So Detroit is right here. Mm-hmm. It's always a mitten. Right. Michigan is the mitten. Has a little peninsula up here. So I was born in Kalamazoo, Michigan, which is west. Is that west? Yeah. So I was born in Kalamazoo, Michigan, west, to a mother who was white and her father was directly Cherokee. She gave me up for adoption at 8 months, which is already crawling around on furniture. She was white. Her father didn't want a black child in their house. She met another white man, and he said, "I'll marry you, but we're not going to have this black baby." Mm-hmm. So then at 8 months is when she gave me up. She told her parents that she was gang raped so that she wouldn't have to give up the name of
your father.
Of my father. Okay. So I don't know who my mother is or my father. I may find out at this point.
You could if you want.
Yeah, I could if I want. Yeah. I think it's like $65 and you have to mail some shit in, but whatever. Anyway, so then I was given up. So that was Kalamazoo, Michigan, which Kalamazoo still to this day is very white and racist. Very money, they probably got 2 black people in the city. I'm exaggerating, but something to that effect. Actually, they have a slam team or had a slam team. So then from Kalamazoo, Michigan, I was put up for adoption, and then the family who adopted me lived in Lansing, Michigan, which is where University of Michigan is. And they were already in the move to Detroit. They were already packing boxes, but it took them 2 years to adopt me. So by the time they adopted me, I was 2.5 and we were already moving to Detroit. So I think I lived in Lansing with them a couple months, maybe over that summer. So April, I want to say 7th of 1977 was my official date of adoption.
Did you know that you was being adopted? I know you young. I know you was young. Did you know?
I did know that I was being adopted. I had already been in 3 foster homes. Mm-hmm. One of them I heard was sexually traumatic for me. I don't remember that. Mm-hmm. But somebody reported that I was being sexually abused in the earliest foster homes.
Do you know that motherfucker was in jail for that, or he got us some type of trouble?
I don't know anything. But what's fucked up is the person that was sexually assaulted me, his name was Kevin, and the family that was adopting me, my older brother's name is Kevin. Oh. And so they said I had a little trauma transitioning into, but I don't remember that at all. I have no memory, no recollection of that. I just which is weird that they even told me, because I'm like, I wouldn't even have that.
How fucking old were you at that? To know that, like, for them to give you that information, how old were you?
I think they told me that later, as just telling me who I am and where I came from.
Okay,
but to me, I'm like, you could have admitted that shit, because I didn't remember that at all.
Right.
But I think
it can help you though. Knowing certain shit about yourself, even though it could be repressed in your head, it's good that you know. So if some shit going on, you can be like, well, maybe it's this because of this.
I mean, they did say that, and I have been in and out of therapy my whole fucking life. Yeah. But they did say I had some issues transitioning to my older brother Kevin into the new adopted family. Because of the name alone.
It's a trigger.
Yeah, they said I used to cry.
Right.
I'd be like, oh, Kevin, like, whatever. I'm making enough of that. So yeah, they said I used to cry whenever they would say his name. So they had to kind of transition me into before fully adopting me. So I remember over the summer of 1977 moving from Lansing to Detroit. And my mother still lives in the house that we moved into in Detroit. She still lives there. My father has passed away. He died of Agent Orange a long time ago. And for those who don't know what Agent Orange is, and for those who do, forgive me, but Agent Orange is a blood cancer that people got in Vietnam. Mm-hmm. Which is also ironic because my father only worked behind a desk. He never was in combat, but it was still enough in the air that he contracted Agent Orange.
Did they give him
blood transfusion?
No. Did they give him basically money for that shit?
They did. Yeah. I remember being in college. Fast forward, I wasn't living in the house anymore. I moved out, went to Utah, and blah blah blah. So. I remember they called me up and I got like $500 a month until I graduated college.
That shit should be for the rest of your fucking life. Or for 20, from my point of view.
Or 25. It was something like that. It was something odd. It was until you're 25 or until you graduate college. It was one of those things. So I remember receiving that for about 3 years. And
break down, if you can, break down the type of, because you was in foster care. Break down the type of father you had, the type of man he was, the type of mother you had, basically being at.
So my mom was a straight up hippie. She still kind of is. I don't know if she lives like a hippie life really anymore. But
you have a hint of that, didn't you? Because you're free spirited.
Yeah, definitely.
To me, I don't know you, but you just seem real, like. You like, come in here and see my equipment. Like, where I'm from, it's like, yo, you stay right at that damn door.
That's so funny. Now, I figure, people who still need it more than I do. And so, yeah. I am not going to say I don't love materialistic things because I'm a Leo and I like to get dressed up, but weirdly, I'm not attached to them. I'm not going to say I wouldn't be upset when I came in and my shit was gone. I'm like, motherfucker. Right. But I also know how to fill out an insurance claim.
Most definitely.
You feel me?
Most definitely.
Yeah.
Most definitely. Chit-chin.
Hello. I had 2 of them boards. I was practicing, Matter of fact, I had a 50-inch screen. Where the fuck is that shit at?
Most definitely.
But anyway, psych, just kidding. So, yeah, my mom was kind of a hippie. She was short. She was 5'2", so I was almost instantly taller than her by the time I was 12. Mm-hmm. And then my dad was 6'2", and then my older brother, Kevin, was about 6 feet. And then they had another son, Jeremy, who is 5 years younger than me. So when I was 5, so by like 3 years in, he was born in December.
So you're the only girl in the family.
And in the middle, which was... In the middle and black and the only girl made a weird dynamic because the middle child usually gets neglected. Mm-hmm. But because I was only girl and black, you can't really neglect that in your family.
It's one thing you totally confused me. So the people who adopted you, they wasn't black?
No, they're white.
I never, okay. Oh,
I'm sorry.
Okay,
sorry.
Yeah, you never left. Okay.
My bad.
So now
they're all white.
This is the question I need to ask because...
Yeah. In Detroit, not a suburb.
Okay. Because when you told me you was born, your mother's white, and you said your father's Cherokee Indian. Am I right?
Okay. I'm sorry. Let me clear that up. So my biological mother is white, German, as a matter of fact, German, and her mother was German, and her father was directly Cherokee Indian. Mm-hmm. Then she fucked a black dude, had me.
Okay.
So I'm bi-triracial, whatever you want to call it, right? So then I was adopted into a family that was all white.
Okay.
So there was my mother, who I consider my mother and father. That's who I'm referring to.
Okay.
They already had Kevin, who is 4 years older than me. So when they adopted me at 2.5, he was 6.5. And then when I became 5, they had Jeremy.
Okay. Let me say, I was already clear on that. The only thing I wasn't clear that you was adopted by another set of white.
Gotcha.
That's the part I was.
Gotcha. Yes.
The question I gotta ask you, the elephant in the room, how was it being raised by white people? Because you so fucking hip hop, you so black. I mean, like, I would think your father was like, you know what I mean, like.
Well, keep in mind, I grew up in Detroit. I wasn't in Troy. I wasn't in Southfield. I wasn't in Dearborn. I wasn't in Oak Park. Not that they weren't affected by it, but and then also keep in mind, I'm a late 70s baby, so which really means the 80s and 90s raised me. So 80s and 90s was not the birth of hip hop. Birth of hip hop started like early 70s.
But it was the pinnacle.
It was the pinnacle of
Cool G Rap, Rockin',
Kumo D, LL, X Clan. Me running around my white household with red, black, and green leather medallion, and I went to all black. I went to public school. I wasn't going to no.
Right.
So I had all that. Oh, you got white parents, situation. And unfortunately, and these are just the things that were said about me, I could read better than them. I had better geography than them. I was going water skiing and, shit that only the other white kids were doing at the time. Now, forgive me, maybe some other black families were, but I'm talking about as a child, this is what I was receiving. Most definitely. And, so like, oh, they would be mad when I'm reading 8 pages in the history. Oh, she was about to learn how to fucking read, bitch. Right. You know what I mean? But then, then that's their parenting in their household. But so we grew up in a middle class, but not upper middle class. So like middle, well, not really lower, but really now, if you look at that neighborhood was fucked up. But so was Detroit. But so it was a middle class neighborhood, and I went to public school and had to overcome being teased about being biracial, about living with white people, about talking proper, and whatever else. So I think that
shit make you tough though.
Made me tough
and sing or swim, baby.
Immersed myself into black culture, into hip hop culture, and would have my own little tiny one speaker radio behind my head at night, listening to hip hop and the Quiet Storm, and really just to fucking keep up with the kids at school, because literally at home we listened to R.E.M. and REO Speedwagon, and I was happy to know those songs too, because now all the motherfucking songs, rock songs, are being sampled by Jay-Z, by Pop Smoke, by who the fuck else, by Meek Mills,
A$AP Rocky, all
of them, right? So they're taking songs from the 80s and 90s, like, oh, I know that shit, and they're like, I mean, but also when Will Smith came out on MTV, if you remember all of us watching MTV in the late 80s, 90s, 2000s, we were introduced to white music videos and white culture, and very rarely did they play black videos and black culture until BET came along. Yeah. So Will Smith was the only black motherfucker on MTV. Queen Latifah came on a little bit later. So we knew all their songs. Yeah. They didn't know all of our songs. Yeah. And so it was very interesting to be able to, what I like to say, grow up with the weapons under my cloak for the culture that I've been able to intersect, for whatever white culture is and whatever black culture is. And I
like the way you did that.
What?
The way you do that.
Yeah, because it's just music. Because it is just music. But also my partner, she's always on me about, you never claim that you're white, because when I'm pulled over by a police officer, I'm black. Mm-hmm. And nobody ever looks at me and says, you're a white woman.
I never knew until this interview.
Well, she's all, you look mixed. I'm like,
Let me say this. Your hair do look like Indian somewhat. When your hair long, I could tell like, oh, maybe she Indian. But I never, somebody said, guess who's half white in the portrait industry? I'd have been like, I don't know.
So, and now that I'm locking my hair, of course, everybody on Instagram is like, oh, you're going to have the Lisa Bonet. They're never like, oh, you're going to have the, I don't know, who the fuck else, They don't even reference me to Bob Marley, which...
Yeah, he's half,
I was going to say, isn't he?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah. So I was like, I just wanted to make sure I was right. Yeah, he's biracial too. So it's just interesting how the hair, even though India Ivory says we're not our hair, but we as Black people, we tend to define so much about another person.
Yeah, we
by
do.
their hair.
We do.
Yeah.
We try to define people by things we can box them in so we can try to relate.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Or try to relate, or at least learn what we don't know. Because even if I put you in a box that I'm unfamiliar with, I'm like, oh, I need to learn this box.
I was talking to somebody the other day, and I say when I'm talking to somebody, he asks me shallow questions, I tap out.
What questions?
Questions like, how old are you? How many kids you have? Are you like shit like that? Like
it's
I don't
almost
know.
Interviewee.
Yes, yeah. I don't like that. Don't do that. Don't do that.
I always, I used to think about first dates as interviews, and I'm like, this.
It is.
It sounds like an interview, and not like. It's almost like speed dating before you meet up. It's like, how many kids you have? How old are you? How tall are you? How much did you weigh? Okay, we can meet in person.
I can tell you all that, and that still ain't gonna tell you about who I am.
Yeah.
I can give you your whatever survey you give me. I give you. I'm just too. I've been in too many boxes for you to box me in one box.
I've
lived in the hood.
Life.
I lived in the county. I've sold drugs. I worked corporate.
Yeah.
You can't box me into whatever you think I should be. You can't do that to me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And based on the things you're saying, you can't do that to you either.
I've lived so much life. I've lived so many different intersections, so many different hats, so many different moments. Change. It's nuts.
Was it difficult for you to be the only Black person in an all-white family, or is it just family?
Very difficult every day. It's a constant reminder. You're what am I trying to say? You're never not the only Black person there. Mm-hmm. And so then the things that we did weren't necessarily for my benefit to be a Black woman.
Okay.
They were just what white people would do. So we would go to the beach. And, in Detroit, if we went to the beach, not so much. There is a Detroit beach at Belle Isle, but like we would go to the suburbs. Mm-hmm. The number one question I got from other white kids was, "What's your nationality?" Which was their polite way of saying, "Are you Black? Like, why are you here?" Right. And then I'm swimming, like swimming. Right, you know what I mean? So there's that, and there's that.
So you swimming, everybody at the beach like, "Oh my God!"
Right, like what the fuck,
Yeah.
And then. So yeah.
I want to have this conversation with you because the funny thing is, it's like I'm writing some stuff. I'm writing this, trying to write this philosophy book. I'm trying my best to write it. And one of the things in the book is how we are so, not Black people, we are so ignorant by thinking that swimming is a white thing or skiing is a white, and we miss out on so much on life by saying, I remember when I was younger, if you ate salad, nigga, you eating salad, nigga, you white. You eating yogurt? You white, you eat yogurt? You eat almonds? Like anything
almonds.
You eat almonds? I remember at one time.
Those are weird. I've never heard almonds referred to.
Okay. I'm from Baltimore.
So peanuts are Black people.
Peanuts, you can eat peanuts.
Peanuts and Coke.
You can eat peanuts. You know what I mean? But it's almonds. Funny how this is just, anything you want to do, you just gotta do. You can't let that shit trick you.
It's interesting too, like Black Ski Weekend. And it's like, I hope, I think that's awesome that there is a Black Ski Weekend so that there's a safe space for Black people to make mistakes, not know how to operate the skis. What gear should I buy? Mm-hmm. There's a safe space for that. Mm-hmm. Then I hope what that does is propel those people interested in skiing to be like, fuck it, let's go next weekend and the weekend after and whatever. And then people are like, let's go to Black Cabin Weekend. And it's like, cool. But like, oh, we don't camp, We just went camping last weekend with 12 cyclists. You know what I mean? So, and then there's a big camp weekend that Bailey does down in Austin, Texas, right? Yeah. So I think that's really cool, and I'm hoping that those people are like, fuck it now, let's go camping, you know what I mean? Yeah. But there is a need for that safe space, that learning curve, so that people don't feel out of place and like intimidated.
Most definitely.
But that's also how I am kind of about the gay scene a little bit. I'm definitely gay. I'm definitely out. I have a partner. I'm definitely a lesbian. I love men. They're not counted out. But when people are like, let's go to this gay cookout, I'm just like,
well, we can't just go to the cookout.
Yeah, I'm just like, okay. Yeah, but I get the need for safe space.
Right.
And I also want to integrate, but I've always kind of been like that. You know what I mean? I want to be intersectional.
You want to be you.
And,
You want to be you.
I don't want to be. Yeah. So.
Let me ask you this: when you said something you just said, it piqued my interest. You said.